you get to choose your sacrifice, and remember it. Like, it is, being a real estate agent's a lifestyle. Even if you have agents under you, which I do have a co-listing agent, and there's still some things, like, as the lead listing agent, it's on you.
Yeah, responsibility. Okay, welcome everyone to another Trust Business Podcast. I am here with Alex Zynski with MoveIntoParadise.com. He is a Coldwell Banker real estate agent that has a really cool brand, Move Into Paradise. What a great tagline. I love that.
Yeah,
Alex, couple questions.
Yes.
You're from the Bay Area. I'm going to jump right into it, right? So
Yep.
Tell us, where you grew up, where you went to high school. Give us a little background. Tell us your stomping ground, and then kind of tell us how you got into the real estate industry.
I would love to. So, originally, actually from the Mile High City, Denver.
Denver, okay.
Moved here when I was very young, 3 years old. So, not born but raised in the Bay Area.
All right.
Grew up in North County, Palm Harbor, and just was in love with the beaches. So, as soon as I got old enough, to kind of walk down Alderman up to US 19, every summer, every day, take the PSTA bus with all my friends.
Heck yeah.
Downtown Clearwater, stop, jolly trolley, straight to the beach every day.
Nice.
Loved it. And high school was actually an interesting story. I went to Tarpon High School, like Palm Harbor was zoned for it, oddly. It was a long bus ride. That was freshman year, time of my life, Unfortunately, I was one who loved nature more than being in class, so they left the gates open at Tarpon, and Sunset Beach, Fred Howard Park was right there. Just enjoyed, the beautiful nature in Florida, sunshine. And then they rezoned us for Palm Harbor High School, which made more sense, and it was a great school. Sophomore year, I went there, and unfortunately, they sent all the regular kids that weren't in a program to what they called Portable City.
Okay.
So
it's like just a group of pods or like portable, classrooms or something like that.
Yeah, just literally like trailers on blocks in the field in the back.
Mm-hmm.
So it was cool, but again, I wasn't really one to go to school that much. I tried to live life as much as I could, and it paid off, but I wouldn't recommend it to anybody, of course.
Kids that are watching, that is not that's the path less traveled.
Right.
But it's also a lot of learning on that path. I can relate.
Right. I got to learn a lot of different types of people, or meet different people and learn their way of living. And I was like, I did hang out with the cool kids, but I was the outcast, and I hung out with everybody. So that was fun, going to 2 different high schools. And then, even though I didn't really go to class that much, the Lord blessed me with a fantastic memory, so I had a good enough GPA to sign up for SBC's early college program.
Nice. Okay.
And it was a lottery, so if you have a 3.0, which I had literally a 3.01, it was a lottery, and I got in.
Yeah, there you go.
So, and my friends were older, so I got to go to SBC Tarpon campus with my best friend, Charlie. Time if he watches this.
Yeah, right.
And it was just fantastic, and I will say that was a quality school.
Yeah.
Because I went to USF after, but the early college program at SBC set the tone for my life, so I'll forever be grateful for SBC, especially the East-West religion synthesis class just blew me away.
That's awesome.
And then I went to USF. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I was like 19 years old or 18. And I was like, I want to be a manager at a business, so I'm going to do business management. And I didn't really know what I was signing up for, but it was cool because it's a lot of psychology of larger groups and like corporations and even economics, like those graphs, it's just human behavior, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's what everything is. So I kind of learned the psychology of sales without really knowing what I was learning.
Sure.
And that really is paying off now in real estate and marketing. So I graduated USF when I was, I don't know if I was 19 or just turned 20, and I ran into a friend of mine that was my age. At that point, I was 20, ran into him at Starbucks, Michael, if he watches this, and it's like, what are you doing? And he was like, I'm flipping houses. And I was like, how? You know, and he told me the story, and he did have, you know, he wasn't wealthy or anything, but he had family that saved up and they trusted him, and he was driven. You know, he really was. He was different. And he made it work to the point where he asked me, what are you doing? And I was like, I just graduated college. And he's like, I'll pay you 42 grand a year to manage a flip for me. I was like, okay, where do I gotta be? So I show up to this house, and he bought a block house, like Mandalay, North Beach, Clearwater, actually 907 Lantana Avenue, for like $439,000 seller finance. And this was back in like 2017, 2016.
Sure.
And it's just amazing how much the market has changed, but quite an experience.
Yeah.
So
Sounds like it.
Yeah.
That was kind of your entry point into the real estate market. Were you entrepreneurial, like as a kid? Did you buy and sell? Was that, were you intrigued by business or anything like that?
Not really.
No. Just keep that busy brain busy.
I was just busy with like my friends. Like I was always with my friends. Sleepovers, running around, sneaking out, whatever. Always with friends, with people.
I was reading a little bit about on your bio, and one of the things that stood out to me was strong negotiator or something of those sorts. Tell me about that.
I was shy as a kid.
Okay.
So discovering that I was good at negotiating later on was like, it's kind of like your personal devil, overcoming your devil. Like,
yeah.
You thought you'd be so afraid of it. It's like the Wizard of Oz revealing the curtain. It's like, oh, that's what was back there? All right, now we have full reign over the place, you know?
Yeah.
And a lot of people, especially, I haven't been to a lot of countries, but in America, people are afraid to bargain, have confrontation. That's why I feel like my role is so important. Because sometimes I really have to dig. What do you want? They're afraid to negotiate sometimes, and it's not even them asking. It'll be me.
Yeah. And
they're even like uncomfortable with that. So I just feel like it goes such a long way, negotiating, and it is invaluable. It really is, especially unfortunately in this country, like people just don't bargain, and that's what it is.
Yeah. Well, I think you mentioned something really powerful there, which is, you know, fear. People in general can get paralyzed by fear. And so recognizing that fear, you know, one of my mentors had told me years ago, fear is like a vapor. It's a smoke screen. Once you walk through it several times, you realize that, wow, that was nothing to be afraid of after all. It was more of just an illusion. And you walk the other side and you're like, that wasn't so bad. Why was I so afraid? And so what I've learned over my 52 years young is oftentimes the things that I'm most afraid of are the things that have the biggest reward at the backside of it. On the back of the fear, there's often a pot of gold of some sort.
What does the knight have to go through to get to the gold?
Tell me.
Dragon.
Yeah.
What is a dragon?
Yeah.
A concoction, like a combination of all the biggest predators.
Yeah,
teeth, fire, wings, claws.
Once he gets through that, though, there's
gold.
There's a castle and probably a beautiful woman in the castle. Oh, now I've tapped into something.
There you go.
Now I've tapped into something. So
that's true. Very true.
So what's next with your? I mean, I love the idea that you have a big vision for your firm already. Like, you know, how old are you, by the way?
28.
28. So you have pretty clear vision where you want to go. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, it is my 7th year in the real estate business.
Okay,
so
nice.
Like, you know, I feel like it's time to kind of double down on what I want to do and focus on. And I was kind of getting to the remodeling side and flipping and helping clients do that after sales, and like beautiful house in Harbor Bluffs, I just helped a client buy and helped him remodel it. More so, I connected him with contractors I've used in the past.
Sure.
And, like, people who drive by it must think it's new construction. I just stopped there today. The metal roof just went on and it's done, and I was like, wow, like we can really repurpose this. Like, you don't have to knock everything down. Granted, it's waterfront home, so the flood insurance thing and maybe base flood elevation, that's a whole nother conversation.
Sure.
But a lot of homes, especially block, you can repurpose, and it looks like new construction. And they spent really a fraction of the cost that they thought they would.
Yeah.
Using, and unfortunately, from experience, general contractors charge way too much money. They're not present enough, and they just sub everything out, and the prices get crazy. So if anybody knows a good general contractor that would actually, the end number would be reasonable, let me know. I have not come across it, and I don't really feel bad saying it.
Yeah, we have a couple that we work with. I can refer you to after the after the show.
That would be great.
Yeah,
And it's like,
we have 3 different ones that we do quite a bit of work with, and have negotiated really fair rates for not only for the relationship, right? The relationships and everything have to be equitable, right? There has to be relational equity. There has to be reciprocation. And when you find that right contractor, and we have a few that we'd certainly refer to you.
Wonderful.
It's nice to have that, but it takes, like in anything in our business, we have to have a relationship with our clients that is reciprocal. We have to, you mentioned something about negotiation. Like, sometimes the word no is a really great point. We don't do that. We're not that type of contractor. I'm not that type of real estate agent, right? And so that creates a really great, like, oh, this is a different pathway toward a better result that people are often afraid to maybe take and discuss.
You really struck a chord there with the no, because like my main contractor I use, like I have an investor that just did a flip, and there was such butting of heads, and the investor was calling me, and he's like, your contractor said, no, you can't do this, that he won't do it. It's like, yeah, it's for a reason. And then in the day, it helped him, really did, but it was a painful process.
And it can be.
Yeah, and I've had like clients call me, and like, I'm not gonna say names, but they're big personalities out there, and like a contractor I referred is like walking off the job because sometimes people don't want to hear like the truth.
Yeah.
But at the end, I can tell you it all works out, and it was all for the best.
Yeah.
And I saved it. The guy went back, relationship was saved. And me as an agent, like I do a lot of stuff like that, and I don't get paid for it, but I love it, and I love like repurposing and remodeling and seeing something look new. And I'll get in the nitty gritty and make those calls and connect people, even though my broker would probably say like you can't or don't, like,
yeah,
oh well, like
it
pays off. And I don't really lead generate, I kind of go above and beyond, and I get referrals, and that's how I built my business over the last.
Yeah, you kind of stole my question. My question was going to be like, what really brings you joy in the real estate market? Like, what is like your favorite part? Like, man, I love this about real estate.
I think it's just seeing like people at the end of the transaction, just like realizing like, hey, like it all worked out, and we're here, and like now we get to move in, and that's where we're gonna spend 99 or 90% of our time in the house, and it's like it's real, it came to fruition. And like during those hard times in the negotiations, like 9:30 at night, 10, and it seems so unlikely, and even like the appraisal, they're all worried. It's like I remember all those moments when I'm sitting at the closing table, and it like they're like, oh, it funded, here are the keys.
Yeah.
Like that's obviously number one, because like you read in my bio, I love to negotiate, so like I won't just take it as it is. If I know I can get more for my client or knock more off, it's all fair. I'm not trying to be like a shark.
Right.
It's give and take.
Yeah.
Best deals are compromise. So that's number one, just seeing like the joy of this is our life. It's such a big part of people's lives.
Yeah.
So it does make a difference. Housing is very important, I would say.
Sure. Oh yeah.
Number two, I've really gotten to love marketing lately.
Okay.
And I think the main point is I learned to let go, because I'm super OCD, which was good in like flipping and remodeling, and when I was doing my own marketing to start out. But now I've learned to let go and trust that God has guided me to the right people. Like I've gotten really close to Jesus, and that washed away my anxiety, and really like it kind of cured my OCD. And now I'm able to clearly discern like this is the best person for that job. Like example, Ryan McKeel with Juice Media Marketing and Scott Fink with Lumify Media. They're so good. And I just knew, like, it was like the first people I reached out to. It was like Jesus was like, that's it. And I was like, sure. And then it just happened. Biggest listing of my life, and they knocked it out of the park. Like, I'm expecting like 280,000 views on like the newest video ad I pushed out. And just telling them my vision, and then trusting, not even thinking, worrying about it. And then like a week later, they send me the video. I'm like, wow, it's better than I thought. And I didn't have to like worry. I just had faith.
Yeah. Let's talk about that for a second. You've mentioned it a few times about your faith in God. And, you know, was that, did you grow up in a family that was, you know, pointing toward Jesus, as you mentioned, or something you've discovered on your own?
I think I grew up Catholic.
Yeah.
I would say it's hard because people will go to church and they'll worship, but like, do you walk it every day? And I can't say I grew up in a family that did. And like, life is hard, it's distractions, and it's kind of embedded in the culture so much that like we think maybe like we are walking with the Lord, but I've not met that many people without looking for it that have actually read the word and can like recite it, and now that I'm hyper aware of it, that live it.
Yeah.
So yes and no, and life is hard. There's so much distraction.
Sure is. Yeah.
But now, like, I always knew, and it just was a journey. That's not for this podcast, probably for another one. But now that I am walking with the Lord, like, it just makes everything so much easier, because the fear and anxiety went away. And like I said about the marketing arm, I just have fallen in love with marketing, and now I'm just treating marketing as art. Like, how can I make it as art for any property?
Yeah.
Twilight photos for a $230,000 condo in Dunedin. Oh, I love it. Like,
yeah.
It just always turns out better. And it does make a difference. Like, that first picture catches people's eyes.
Sure.
And you see it on Zillow. Like, Realtor.com, I just had over the weekend a listing in Tampa in Countryway, was the #2 most viewed listing on Realtor.com on Saturday and Sunday, both days. The #1 most viewed listing on Realtor was like an $85,000 condo, but I had like a $525,000 pool house. So it's like, obviously the cheapest listing was the most viewed, because what's the cheapest? But like that, my listing was #2 most viewed for a reason. It's because
the marketing.
Yeah, and it's as far as like moving people's stuff in the house.
Yeah.
And then hiring the right photographer and just telling them the vision, and it just, to watch it come in, and you're like, oh, it's gonna be so good, and it's gonna get the seller so much more.
Yeah. So we'll start wrapping up with some other questions. I wanna get to a couple, and then I wanna hear about how we can connect this podcast to, and how you can connect with the audience a little bit.
Yeah.
So one of the questions is, so when you're communicating with a client, like, what is your perfect client? Like, if you were to say, here is the client that is best suited to work with me, do you have that client? Do you have it, like, if you shot a dart at it, would you say, this is my client, this is my demographic that I like to work with?
I don't think so.
No? Okay.
Honestly,
okay. Yeah.
Probably the perfect client would be the one that's as different as possible from others I've worked with, just so I can have that experience.
Yeah.
And it's like, it would, just working, being around and talking to different people, like, that helps me in every area of my life and opens my eyes to like different perspectives. So like, as weird as that sounds, it's like a paradoxical answer. That's it.
We ask this question around here, like when we meet with customers or we're on the phone, inbound call comes in, we ask the question, so what are you looking for in a roofing contractor, right? And oftentimes when I say that in front of a customer, their head turns like, huh? Like a dog, like I don't understand that question. I've never heard that before. And so if you're thinking about that, so if that question came out to one of your potential clients and you said, so what are you really looking for in a real estate agent? What would your answer be? Like if what would you say? Like if that question is, this is what I'm looking for. Could you really communicate that to a client? Like this is what clients are looking for in real estate. What do you think they're looking for, I guess is the question.
They're looking for someone that actually has their best interest in mind. Not, unfortunately, and I've had some agents get caught in the web where they got caught, their hand in the cookie jar, and a contract is a contract, and it says what a contract says, and as realtors I can't interpret, but if there's any dispute you go to court, and like unfortunately it happens. And like when that stuff happens, I'm like, I'm so glad like I sacrificed a little bit and put the client first, and I wasn't thinking about the money. It's like I may end up like that person, and that I can only imagine.
Yeah,
like,
that's a good answer.
And just people need to realize how important housing is. Like how much time do people spend where they live?
Yeah.
And I think it's honestly too easy to get a real estate license. And it's like a privileged position. We do make good money. We spend a lot on marketing, sure. If you play your cards right though, the house will sell and you'll make it and it's good money, but you have to know what you signed up for. And it's like having the client's best interest actually in mind first. Because that's what you signed up for. This is a public service and it's a privileged position. And then just being willing to sacrifice. Like I don't have kids right now or family, so I'm blessed. I can, like last night I was talking to a seller 10 p.m. And just now before the podcast I was on a three-way call with the same seller, last minute negotiation. They're under contract on a house in Michigan, and it's like I risked being late to this and rescheduling again because a similar thing happened before.
Yeah.
And that's what we have to do. We have to sacrifice. Like we have to sacrifice, and it's something like akin to carrying your cross, right? Or like Jordan Peterson, if people watch him, it's like you get to choose your sacrifice and remember it. Like it is being a real estate agent's a lifestyle. Even if you have agents under you, which I do have a co-listing agent, and it's like there's still some things like as the lead listing agent, it's on you.
Yeah, responsibility. Yeah, discipline and responsibility is really good. All right, how do we get you connected, and how do people maybe watching, listening, how do they connect to you? Where do they go to find you?
So on Instagram, I'm at Clearwater Realtor. My website.
How did you get that? Man, talk about some divine intervention. Like that's a pretty as a Clearwater Realtor, that's pretty good.
And I thought the same thing. I was like, whoa. But at the same time, when I got it 4 years ago, maybe, like Clearwater wasn't as big. That was right beginning of the pandemic. Times were crazy.
Yeah. Well, congrats. That's a great.
Yeah. And I do believe Jesus, the Lord, set it aside, just like my website, moveintoparadise.com, which you can find me at.
That's a great website. It really is a really good one.
Not long ago, maybe in a year ago, I got that, and I was just like, how the billions of people around the world that can get a website, probably a billion at this point or more, that can get a domain, like how?
Yeah.
And some things are meant for us, and you just got to answer the call. And so at Clearwater Realtor on Instagram, social media, most of it, moveintoparadise.com, and Alex at moveintoparadise.com is my email. So that is the best, easiest way to reach me.
Awesome. Well, we truly do live in paradise here. My wife and I, we live in Crystal Beach, and we drive across the bridges into Clearwater Beach or wherever, and I'm taken back every time, whether we're on our bikes or in a car. My wife has a convertible, so we'll drive her car most of the time, and the top down pulling over beach, you're like, we truly do live in paradise. So congratulations, man, on your success, and yeah, we want to stay in touch and see how we can be a blessing to you, and maybe we can do some great work together in the community.
I mean, we have already.
Well, there you go.
We
Let's
helped a 9/11 first responder sell a house by getting a roof on before closing, and I'm
Boom.
always be grateful for that, and I know
There
he
you-
will be too.
There you go. I love that. I love that. Awesome. Well, Alex was a great guest. Thank you all for tuning in and listening today, and see you next time on the Trust Business Podcast.
Thank you, Don.
Thank you.